Hi, this is James Bulpin from Citrix, and this is a short demo video showing you how to use Slack with Octoblu. So to start with, I have my Slack channel. I'm a team administrator on this Slack channel, and we'll see why that's important in a moment. And I'm logged into Octoblu. So first things first, I'm going to create my Slack things. So I'm going to go to the things section of the Octoblu website and all things, and I'm going to search for Slack. And you can see we've got a few choices here. The productivity item is, I believe, an older Slack thing, whereas the newer endos and slurries, as they're called, which are API endpoints and streaming services, are available down here in the social section. My experience is using bots with Slack. There is a mechanism to stream using a user account. However, I've had lots of success using the bot streaming, so that's the one we'll look at today. So first of all, I'll click on my streaming bot, just make sure it's the right one. It says Slack streaming bot, brackets beta. So click on that. And then I'm going to get an authorization request to authorize the Slack streaming bot to access my Octoblu account, and that's specifically this bot. We haven't actually touched Slack itself yet. So I'm going to authorize that. Now it's asking me for a token. Now it's not very clear from the description here, but what it's asking for is the API token for the bot that we're going to be using as our way into Slack. So to generate a bot, I go into my Slack instance, and I'm going to use the menu to select apps and integrations. And from here, I'm going to click on manage, and then custom integrations. And we can see my account actually already has a couple of bots, but I'll create a new one to show you how it works. So I'll click on the bots entry, and we see we've got a couple in there already. So I'm going to now add a new one, add configuration, and I'll give my bot a name. So I'm going to call it testbot2. Add the integration here. And we can see here we've now got some options we can set. I'm not going to worry about any of this at the moment, so I'll just click Save. Now we can see we have an API token here, so I'm going to extract that API token, copy and paste that. So I've copied that now, and I'm going to go back to the Octoblu page, and I'm now going to paste that token into the form here and then submit it. I'm going to authorize this bot, and now you can see we have a thing in Octoblu called testbot2. It's of type slurry Slack bot. This is important. If you end up with slurry Slack, not the bot one, then you're working with your account, not the bot account. We've got our UUID and so on. I don't need to do anything else here, so I'm just going to save that. And now I'm ready to use it in a flow. So if I go to my flows, create a new flow, and I'm going to add my newly connected testbot2. I'm going to then click Update Permissions to allow the bot to send messages to the flow. Then in Tools, I'm going to find a debug node, and simply going to connect those together, start my flow. I'll just click on debug, and note because I've already selected the debug node, this will filter the output in the debug pane for just that thing. So back to Slack now. We can see that testbot2 is now a user that I can talk to. So I'll just get the info up for testbot2. Just click on it here. And the reason I'm doing this is because it will only stream messages from channels that it's a member of. So I'm actually going to add it to the channel. So I'm going to click on this little down arrow here, and one of the options is invite to a channel. So I'll click on that. I'm going to add it to the general channel. Click on invite. And now if I go to the general channel, I can now type a message, something like test to see if testbot2 can stream this. And if I go back to Octoblu, we can see in the debug pane here that we actually have a message, and we can see that it's a type message. It's from the user. This is the internal ID, and of me as my user because I sent the message, and it's got the text, test to see if testbot2 can stream. So that worked fine. So that was very straightforward. What we can also do is to set up what's called an endo, and that's a way to access the various API endpoints for Slack. So this is just streaming. In effect, this is a one-way direction. So we can now set up the endo to be able to send messages and to call, in this case, the get channel API. So I'll go back to the things page. And again, all things. There's a lot of stuff in here these days, so I'll search for Slack to save scrolling down. So I'm now going to click on Slack bot beta. Note, this is not the streaming one. This is the endo, as it's called. So I'll click on that. And again, we'll allow this particular endo to access my Octoblu account. And again, we require the token. That happens to still be in my copy and paste buffer. So I'll just paste that in again. And I'll submit that. Again, we'll auth that. And that's all good. So I'll click on save. So that's now ready for use. So I'll go back to flows. Just zoom out to give myself some more room here. And again, in my things, I should now have my endo. We can see it actually has the same name. It would have been a good idea for me to give that a separate name, but these are added in order, so I know that's the most recent one I created. And we can also tell that it's the endo because it has API selection boxes here. So again, I'll update the permissions. Now the first thing I'm going to do is add in a mechanism to get channel IDs, because we'll need that when we send a message. So one of the APIs we can call is to list channels. You can see that's the one that happens to be already selected here. We obviously in Slack we use human words or human recognizable strings for Slack channels. Internally it uses an opaque identifier. So from tools, I'm going to select a debug node so we can see the output. I'm going to select a trigger so I can call the thing. I'm going to connect those together, update the permissions for the trigger, and restart the flow. So now, if I fire the trigger by pressing the little triangle here, you can see it all pulsates. We get our debug, so click on that, have a look at our debug output, and we can see that I've got a reply back that gives me a list of channels, and I can see I've got my channel called AI there, and somewhere I should have my channel called General. There we go, there's my channel called General, there's its ID, so I'm just going to cut and paste that for now, or cut that, copy that. So now I'm going to add a mechanism to send a message. So we'll do a very simple one first. So back to things, I'll put in my Slack endo again, and I will put in another trigger. Connect those together. And this time, my Slack endo, I'm going to change the API I call to post message. Now this is where the channel comes in, so I now paste in my channel identifier, and in the text I'll put in the text I want to send. So I'm going to say test message from Octoblu, if I can type it correctly. Here we are, that's everything set. So I'll now restart my flow. And again, we'll trigger our message send. So everything pulsated. We even actually received it back because we're not only sending to this channel, we're receiving from it. So you may have seen the slurry streaming service pulsate as well. And if we go to Slack, we can see the entry in there. So there we go. There's a very simple example of connecting Slack to Octoblu. Now, obviously, you can be a bit more clever and send messages that aren't static text. So, for example, we can create a message that actually comes from the test bot itself. So one thing we could do here would be to echo back everything I say. So first of all, we don't want to echo back things the Slack bot says itself, otherwise we'll end up in an endless loop. So I'm going to use the filter tool. So I'm going to use the equals tool, or not equal tool specifically, to remove any messages that were sent by the bot itself. So if we actually look at the debug output, we can see the format of the message. It says message data user, and if I copy the user ID for my Slack bot, because that was the one we just sent ourselves using Octoblu, from message data user I can filter that out. So I can say that if message, I'm using mustache syntax here, .data.user not equals that user ID, then the message will pass on. So what I can do now is I can connect this not equals item to my Slack bot up here. I'm just going to get rid of the connection here because I'm going to change how this works. And rather than having a static message, I can put in the message that came in. So let me just go back and check what that is. That's message, MSG, data, text. So in here, again, I use mustache syntax, message.data.text. Restart the flow. And now, in theory, if I go back here and type test message to be echoed, then we can see our Slackbot 2 comes back with our echoed message. So there we go. There's a quick overview of how to use Slack streaming and APIs with Octoblu. This is James Ballpin at Citrix. Thank you very much for watching.